Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nintendo Fuse's Industry Talk. I'm your host, Barry, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Blake.
Hey, everybody.
And via voice, because unfortunately no webcam, we have our guest today, which is Ben Archer from Bishop Games. For those of you that don't know, Bishop Games just put out an amazing platformer on the Switch. Right now it's available, and that is Lightfall. And this is available right now. Unfortunately, digital only right now, but we'll get to that. So let's start with you, Ben. Tell us a little bit about Lightfall, how you came up with this idea, and the creation process.
Sure. Well, to describe Lightfall briefly, basically it's a platformer in which you control and summon your own platform. So, in some way, you create your own level design inside the levels. So that's the basis of Lightfall. And how we came to be, basically, it's why we decided to found a studio. We just had this crazy idea of making this game, and this was what pushed us to quit our jobs and just found the studio and start this whole crazy adventure.
It certainly is a crazy adventure, and I give you all props for even going the full 9 yards and quitting your jobs to give it the attention. Because I'll tell you this, from what I've played so far, you can tell there's a lot of love behind the project. It is not just thrown together. There is a lot of creativity and a lot of passion behind this project. So I do have to say kudos to that.
Thank you.
Now, who was it? Was it you? Because I know you're one of 3 co-founders of Bishop Games. Was it you that actually came up with this idea, or was it someone else?
It was our artist Matt, and what you need to know is basically me and Matt have been childhood friends for the past maybe like 16 years. So at first he had just got his degree in art and animation, so it was fresh out of school, and he had this vision about Lightfall and just making a game in a world plunged into darkness. And he met with a programmer called David. So David that time had been working on in a few big studios, but he wanted to start also his own business. So they met together, and they just Matt pitched the idea of the game, and David liked it. So then they started out for a few weeks, and then Matt. Well, as I said, we known each other for a long time. So they knew they needed a guy like me because my background is PR and marketing, basically. So I was working in marketing before, and he reached out to me and he said, "Yo, Ben, we're starting out the studio. We have this idea for a game. Are you in?" Basically. So at first I was like part time, like 2 days a week, but and I kept my job for like a few weeks. But as I grew into the project, my interest shifted quickly over. So like maybe a month after that, I just quit my job and went full time on this project.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So since you say you're in marketing, did you actually work on any aspect of the games itself, any of the coding, any of the art, or did you leave that all to them and you just focus on promoting?
No, I've learned a lot. I'm the level designer, and I'm also the writer for the story. So yeah, obviously, when you start a team with 3 guys, you all wear many hats, and you have to do different things. So basically, David and Matt just showed me how to work in Unity, and just learn from scratch. And it was like a trial and error process, basically. And we all learn from scratch, and basically that's how we made Lightfall.
I really appreciated the story behind it all, and as I was like playing through, I just thought this is really different, really creative. And so how long did it take you to come up with that idea and to kind of put it into action a little bit?
The story and the game as a whole really changed like throughout the years. Like the project in total, it's been a total of 4 years. So obviously a lot of iteration, a lot of back and forth went into this game, and it's hard to like to point a moment where we said, okay, this is going to be the story or this is going to be the game. It changed all across the development. It was just like a iterative process, just back and forth, trying some things. Is it fun? Is it working? No, okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board. So it was a lot of trials and errors, basically.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
the story is something that really hooked me. I love platformers, but usually platformers don't have a good story, or it has a very generic story. The story here was intriguing. I was like, oh wow, like there's this world. What happened to it? Where's everybody else? Where and you're trying to piece it together. And one thing that I really liked, and at the same time I disliked, and I'll be honest here, I love the fact that you had true backstory. You have those crystals you could find that give you the text that really gives you like here's some previous stuff to fill in the blanks, and I loved those things. What I didn't like is actually having to find them all, and I felt like in my playthrough, from what I've done so far, I've had to have missed them because they're like hidden, and I'm like, oh man, I probably missed some, and I'm missing some of the story, and it's like I want to know what's going on. So, what made you decide to take that information, even though it is backstory, and not everybody will care about it, and put it into hidden locations as rewards for exploration, as opposed to just giving it to the player in general?
Yeah. I think the decision came to because of two reasons. The first one is that in our eyes we already had quite a lot of story going on. Like the main story with the narrator Strix is really present in the game already. So to us it was like shoving down more story was a bit much, because we know some players don't care at all about story. They just want to go fast and play the game. So that was the first decision, and also the other reason was basically at first we just had those collectibles. We had two types of collectibles. You can the yellow orbs obviously, and the trap villagers. Excuse me. So and the yellow orbs at first they didn't do anything. So the idea of adding more background and the lore about the world came because we needed to do something with those collectibles because we just had like two types of collectibles and both of them didn't really do much. So we said, hey, we could, put more backstory into this to encourage exploration, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did notice that. I was like, like with the villagers, like I got a couple of them. I'm like, is this going to do something for me? Like it's great, rescuing them, but I'm like, am I going to get some kind of like double jump or triple jump or something like in addition to the boxes, or maybe a fourth box or fifth box? I mean, and, like something like that for freeing them. Like the exploration is great though, but I'd love to see like something with those villagers, and maybe there is. Maybe I'm not far enough into the game.
I can tell you there's nothing, and the reason for that is that we're a team of 5, so we had all those crazy plans, on paper. But at some point, you just gotta get down to making decisions like, okay, this is really gonna better the game that much, and is it worth delaying the project like even further? So some things that we didn't make it in the final game, but yeah, that's life, I guess.
Well, now I know I can skip those villages if I see one surrounded by trap. Like, okay, he can just stay there for eternity. Who cares?
I was thinking about like how I usually play platformers and really spend that time exploring. But there's something about this game that makes me want to just go fast. I want to like once I learned the run stuff, like I was just like, all right, I want to like jump and do these cool moves and just look awesome and spectacular. So I think this is the strangest thing about this game, that most of the time I'm like, I'll take it slow, and then this one just kind of makes me want to go like, hey, just get moving as fast as you can,
Yep, I mean that's I think the strength of the core mechanic of Lifestyle. I mean, you just, even if you're not like a speedrunner at heart, you still want to go fast and you still want to try doing some crazy stuff with the mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you kind of think like this would be a good speedrunning kind of game somewhere down the line?
Well, the speedrun mode actually came to us by the fans. Like we were at PAX East, I think 2 years ago. And we basically, what we had at that time was just the story mode, and we had the demo, and we had a timer built in the demo just to compile the average playing time for the demo. So we will have like a better idea for next future expos. Like, is the demo long enough? Is it too short? But what we realized was that friends will play next to each other on the two TVs, and they will start the demo at the same time and use the timer as a racing clock, basically. And they were laughing and yelling, and it was like that for the whole weekend. So when we went back to our studio back home, we're like, okay, well, we need to push that idea even further, and this is where like the idea to have a speedrun game mode came about.
Oh, well, that's really cool.
Yeah, you mentioned PAX East, and I know you guys just did GDC. How have these conventions been for you? And as a small team to go to these? Like, have they been positive, negative? I mean, like, what's your experience with them?
It's always positive because people that stop at your booth will rarely, tell you the game is bad, even if they if they think so. But I mean, overall, the reaction was really positive, and I think for smaller studios, expos are probably the best way to get exposure because you don't have like hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on marketing or on PR. So I think attending PAX or GDC or like Gamescom in Europe is like the best way to not only get fans but also get raise awareness for the press. And so that's pretty much why we've done so many conventions, because it was our first game and we were really unknown before that. So we had to go out and just trying to get our name out there.
Speaking of conventions, Play New York City is coming up in a couple months. Will you be there?
Well, it's I'm not the numbers guy on the studio. Like, I'm not the one dealing with the budget. That's more David. But we'll see. Because right now, because the game is launched, obviously we're going to do less convention than we did before launch. We've also have the funding for the next game, which is a really fortunate thing to do. So right now we're doing some more content on Lightfall, but soon enough, like, we're probably gonna move to the next project also.
Well, that's exciting. So there is more content coming to Lightfall.
Yes, we've announced a free patch today. It's not out yet, but it's coming out, and this is what we announced today because we've honestly, Lightfall, we've been pretty happy with the reviews and the reaction from the public. But the game obviously has flaws. I mean, it's our first game ever, and I think a bit of inexperience showed in some places in the game, and that's mainly the last boss can be quite frustrating. And we've had a lot of feedback about the last boss, and also about the yellow collectibles that you've talked earlier. Like, some people don't like having the text pop up mid-level and stuff like that. So those two things are going to be changed completely. We're going to change the way we implemented the yellow collectibles and how you access them to read the text. And we're also going to showcase a totally new last boss. So the original last boss will still be playable like in the level select, but we'll bring a new one to the table, which is more in line with what the rest of the game was. Because we've had a lot of complaints about like how Lightfall, you're always moving around and going fast, and the last boss is really not that, and that's true. So we're definitely going to change those two things, and after that we'll see like if we do any more content and stuff like that.
Any option to just read, like, even if you didn't collect all the yellow orbs, just to read that backstory for those of us that do care, and it's already written, like, for us to say, hey, you want that extra lore, you can get it.
I mean, we like the idea of like you have to work to find these, like. So right now, I don't think we're gonna change it, but like if more people, we're still gathering feedback. We're really open to just chatting with the fans and how they feel about the game. So if we have enough feedback about that, we might do something. But right now, we like the idea of just like, you want to learn the backstory, you gotta find these items.
Get searching, damn it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I knew you developed for a lot of different systems. This is coming out like for PS4, Xbox One, all these things. But what was it about the Nintendo Switch that you thought, hey, we need to put our game on this, or what drew you to the Switch, or why do you think indies like developing for the Switch?
Well, first of all, I can talk about our experience and then why I think like the Switch is so popular for indie devs. In our case, obviously, Lightfall has been in development for 4 years. So at the beginning, the Switch wasn't even announced yet. So I think the plan for the consoles as a whole changed like 10 times in 4 years. So at one point, we wanted to do a sim ship across all platforms. Then we realized with a team of 5 it wasn't happening, and then we almost had a deal with PS4 at one point. We're also in talks with Xbox. Like we've been talking with all the consoles throughout the years, and what you need to know is that at first, before the Switch, it was near impossible to get an indie game on the Wii and the Wii U, because if the game was made in Unity, because it was almost impossible to port a Unity game in Wii and Wii U. So at first, like we talked with Nintendo, but to be completely honest, it was more of an afterthought, because we're like, okay, well, they have the Wii and the Wii U, and it's pretty much impossible. So, I mean, okay. But then the Switch came out, and this is at that point that Nintendo reached out to their network of indie devs, and they reached out and said, "Hey, the Switch is coming out, and this time, games that are made in Unity will be portable on that platform." So that was a big game changer, because at that point you're like, oh well, now it's a real possibility to be on that platform. And in our case, it was just like the natural evolution of the relationship. Like, we started talking more with Nintendo from that point. I think they were interested in the game, and we were definitely interested in working with them. So it just evolved into this exclusivity partnership.
And speaking of that, you guys were featured in the Nindies Showcase, the latest one, and that's where I first heard about the game. I'll be honest with you, I saw that, and we did a discussion on our podcast about the Nindies shown, and your title was probably the most well regarded amongst our podcast crew. We're like, oh, Lightfall looks amazing. So how was the effect or the after effect of getting in that Nindies Showcase? Was it was it positive, or did you get positive feedback from that, or was it didn't help you at all?
It definitely helped. I mean, just having Nintendo tweet about your game is like 10 times more reach than what I can do on my own, as a small indie PR marketing guy. So just being, on par with that big brand, just latching onto that big brand is definitely helpful. As for the feedback, it was mainly positive. I think the trailer that we had, though, didn't really showcase all the potential of the mechanic, because we've had a lot of people, like on the subreddit Nintendo Switch, that thought that the game was an endless runner. So I went into the community, and I posted different GIFs of the game, just highlighting the mechanic. And this is really at that point that people said, "Oh, okay, it's much more than just running and jumping." So I think our trailer was well received, but maybe we missed the mark a little bit of the trailer.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I can tell you, it won me over, and I know it won a lot of the podcast crew over, and it was just got on our radar. And that's coming from me. That means something, because if you've ever watched our podcast, or you want to go back and look, and for all our viewers that do, they know that I am a physical collector. I am very, very rarely will I ever get a digital game, and I do have to ask, because it's obligatory for me to ask anybody I interview, what are the odds of working with an actual publisher, maybe like Limited Run Games or Super Rare Games, or even Nintendo themselves, to get a physical copy of this game out on the Switch? Because that would be great.
Yeah, we've already been in a few talks with as you said, Super Rare Games, and I think we're also contacted by Limited Run, but I'm not sure on that. But yeah, we're in talk right now. We're gonna see what can be done. Obviously, we'd like to have physical copies, but it always comes down to a cost versus potential revenues, potential profits. So we'll see how it goes. But we've been asked a lot about physical copies, so it's definitely something we're having at the back of our mind, and we're exploring right now.
Well, I can say, even though I have it digitally, I will certainly purchase a physical copy if one comes out. Hands down, guaranteed.
Thank you.
But no, that is good. Good to hear. I'm glad that at least those two have reached out, because I think there's a lot of people in the Switch community that are more exposed to the digital titles that are getting physical releases, because I'm noticing more and more are. And from everything I heard, like, oh, I saw it digitally, but I wasn't sure. But now that it's coming physical, I'm actually taking a serious look at it. And I think your game definitely deserves that light on it. Like, it really, no pun intended with the name, but like actually, this deserves to sit there on the shelf next to Mario Odyssey and next to Breath of the Wild and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's also a big part of the Nintendo fan. The culture of having physical copies is much more present in that community. Like, if you compare to Xbox or PS4 fans, from what I've seen. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of interest in getting physical copies, and this is why we're seeing right now what can be done, and if it's possible to go forward with that.
If there's anything I can do to help in that department, please let me know. I'll do what I can to make it happen.
All right. I'll send you an email.
There you go. Yeah, we'll set something up. Because I can get a lot of people interested. Like, hey, you know what? This physical, you need to play this game. You need to get this game support. So now that you've done this, and I know you are working on the additional content for Lightfall, can you give us any little hint at the next project you said you're going to begin working on? Like any little inkling of what's to come?
Well, it's gonna be a video game.
Well, there we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's right.
Honestly, I can't say too much because my two other colleagues will kick me out of the company. But no, jokes aside, what I can say is that it's gonna be a type of game that is brought for one of the first time on console. Type of game that is usually more for PC, and that's probably the only thing I'm gonna say about it.
Yeah, hey, you know what? To me, I'll be honest with you. To me, that immediately makes me think of real-time strategy games because there are very few of them on the console. And I could be right, I could be wrong, but to me, when you say things like that, that's what comes to mind.
We'll see in a few years. In 2 years.
2 years, okay, yeah, 2 years. I look forward to seeing that because I can't wait to see what you guys do. The creative juices in this game are insane. Like just the mechanic of making the boxes and making your own platforms. I didn't think too much of it until I played, and I was like, wow, this works really, really well. And I know you said you created the level designs. The levels really like they cater to it. It's not like it's too overpowering that you could just pass through a level. But it creates multiple ways to solve puzzles and to traverse the platforms, which I've noticed. I'm like, I could go up this way or I can go down this way, and I like that. I like allowing us to create our own way.
Yeah, the mechanic, the shadow core mechanic, to be quite honest, it changed like 10 times also across the development. Like I remember one of the first iteration was so bad. Like you will spawn the platform, but it will not spawn under you. It will spawn on a rail around the player, and the cube will just move on the rail, and then you will have to press again when it was in the position you wanted it to spawn it there. So it was really slow and really like clunky. It was terrible. So it took us like it took us almost like a year to get to this point where the mechanic was really fluid and just fast paced and just so natural feeling. So a lot of work went into that.
Well, I can see why you would go that route originally, but I'm very glad you settled on what you did, especially with the multiple ways that you could do it under you, or you could do it to your side, so you can wall jump up like that. That was really clever. I didn't expect that when I got that ability.
Yeah, we're pretty proud, and I think this is the mechanic itself is what people enjoy the most. So we're definitely happy about the reaction towards this mechanic.
There's also a level of difficulty in this game that I've already noticed and has shown up a time or two. I almost got angry at my Switch last night. I will tell you that. Yeah. There was this one spot where it tricked me even at the very beginning, where it was like, it was literally, you were clearly falling off a cliff if you went there, but there's like this light shooting up from the ground. And so you're kind of like, oh, I wonder if there's anything down there. So I like literally walked off the cliff down into the bottom and just died. And I was like, well, nope, there's nothing down there. So did you guys set out to make kind of a difficult game, or a game that would be a little bit more challenging for some people?
Yeah, I think so, because in our case, basically as gamers and developers, we want to make what we enjoy, right? And the same type of games, and we're all big fans of Super Meat Boy and like Rayman and Ori. So I think you can see the same difficulty in Lightfall, in the same fast-paced gameplay. This is definitely something we wanted to reproduce, because this is the type of platformers we enjoy. And for as you said, like the lights that bring you into a trap, that's also part of like, in most games the cliche is like darkness is bad and light is pure and good. So in Lightfall, it's pretty much the opposite. Like darkness is your lie, and everything that's colorful or bright would most definitely kill you if you touch it. So yeah, that was our like just having fun with the usual cliche and just twisting it on the other side.
Yeah, I like that idea. Like the lights are like pink and like the green slime and like all that. Like normally you want to go to that stuff and you just can't. I like that.
And there's also like a gameplay reason why, because Lightfall is going so fast that just having the bright, you can still see the bright stuff coming up quickly, and it gives you time to react. So there's definitely like a gameplay reasoning behind why we went that route. So.
Oh man!
I didn't even think about that, but that totally makes sense. So let me ask you. I know you're working with all the developers, and this is, I think it's timed exclusive on the Switch, and it will be coming out on the other systems soon. What do you think of the state currently of the industry about like the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One and the Switch, and the developers' mentality behind it, just from the insider talks, and how what's your take really on the current state?
I think that you know all the console. Well, from our experience, all the consoles have been pretty open, and like the feedback and the reaction was positive towards Lightfall. Obviously, the degree of enthusiasm changed depending on which platform we will talk to. I think there's definitely like a indie identity on for each platform. Like for example, let's say Xbox One is the only console where you can have I think 8 controllers or something like that. So obviously they want to put more stock on that feature. So if you have like a co-op multiplayer game that plays up to 8 players, you're definitely going to have more love from Xbox than if you're a single player game like us. Also, you have to keep in mind that Xbox, they have Ori and the Blind Forest. So obviously Lightfall is a bit less wanted because of that, because they already have like a top-notch and best-selling platformer. So there's like you have to, depending on the type of games you make, you have to see and evaluate on which platform will you have the best fit. And in our case, Switch was a no-brainer because Lightfall is a game so easy to pick up and play. Like you can hop on and off in the game. Like you can play 10 minutes, you can do a speed run in like a minute sometimes. So I think just having this whole thing on the Switch where you can play on the bus or like even in the bathroom or something like that, it's a good fit for our game.
Now, for you, like when you're playing it, do you find yourself playing it more handheld, or do you find yourself playing it more docked?
For myself, I'm playing more handheld because this is why I got a Switch in the first place. Like just bringing it everywhere I go, like on the plane or on the bus in the morning. So definitely using more of the handheld feature. And when I play on my TV, I tend to play more on my PS4.
Yeah, I see that. You see, I with my Switch, I actually play it more docked.
Okay.
But actually, Lightfall I've only played handheld. I think it's a great fit for handheld. Like Blake said, at night, I've been playing it every night just before bed, and it's great because it gets me really frustrated, And I'm like, when I finally put it down, I said I'm going to bed, and I can actually do it. This is a great game. And I know if you're listening and you haven't tried this yet, you really should. We will be doing a game chat, which is our version of reviews with a couple of us, where we will be talking about that. That will either be out before this interview is live or just after. So if it's not out yet, just stay tuned for that. Ben, is there anything else you'd like to say to our viewers about Lightfall, about Bishop Games, about the future that you'd like to convey?
Sure. I mean, if you guys, to all the people listening, if you guys have tried Lightfall, thank you for the support. It means a lot. It's our first game. It's a dream come true just having our game on the Switch, Nintendo platform. And it's just the beginning for us. I mean, we've learned a lot from Lightfall. We know what we're good at and what we've learned a lot from our mistakes also. And so just keep looking forward to the improvements we'll make on Lightfall and also for our next project. Because we're definitely gonna retake some things that we've done well on Lightfall and bring it again for the next project.
Well, I can't wait for the next project, and I can't wait to see the changes with the final boss that you'll be adding in soon, soon when it comes out.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Very, very special thank you to Ben Archer of Bishop Games for joining us for this episode. Thank you, Blake, for joining me today.
Yeah.
For all you listeners, please remember to go to nintendofuse.com and check out our YouTube for more game chats like the Lightfall one that will be coming out, our podcast, more industry talks like this, and all our other great shows and gameplay. Thank you again, guys, for joining me, and until next time.